You're listening to The Breakfast Show here on Faith FM, and we have our agricultural gardening expert, Rod Bailey. He's teaching us, he's giving us step by step for people that would like to transition, to consider, to just learn more about moving to the country. His step-to-step guide, an honest guide into moving, transitioning from city life into country life, and the blessings that it brings. It's a different lifestyle. Absolutely sure, but the blessings it brings, the challenges it brings, but ultimately for those wanting to make that decision because they want to come closer to God, to nature, this is certainly an option worth of really serious consideration. So do we have Rod already? No? Okay. So Lawson, you have been having a bit of an experience of living in the country recently.
I have.
Haven't you? Can you tell me a little bit about it? Because where have you been lately?
So I've been house sitting for some of my friends, and they have a hobby farm that's about 30 minutes from the Faith FM breakfast show studio, and it has been a time out there. We have been, so every morning we have a routine, and every evening we have a routine as well. The animals that we service, we have 3 horses, 2 sheep, 8 chickens, 12 guinea fowl, a bunch of guinea pigs, rats, lizards. Yeah, rats, like pet rats as well. Oh. Lizards, all these different animals.
I'm hearing some birds here. That's probably
and a bird
Rod.
as well.
Yeah.
So that's been my experience living in the country. And this is kind of a little bit of a taste test for me of getting out, moving to the country, having that experience, looking after a big area and all these different animals and having all these different
That's nice. You can try. Can do a bit of a test drive of the country lifestyle.
It's amazing. But of course, Rod will be sharing with us not just the test drive, but what it looks like.
Rod and the bellbirds behind him as well. Good morning to you, Rod. It's great to have you with us.
Hey, g'day guys. How you going?
We're doing well. We're actually excited to know what are the next steps here in that project of moving to the country that you have been sharing with us. It's been quite popular. A lot of people are really enjoying getting to know more about, country lifestyle and actual steps to be made in preparation for that, so that move to the country that a lot of people are contemplating can be done in the wisest possible way. So where are we up now into our steps, Rod?
Okay, we are still in step 2. We will finish this, and this is the self-analysis we need to do before we actually launch the project.
Counting the cost, I like to call this one, the emotional cost, because it's,
What I want to talk about this morning is ask the question, are you on top of your finances?
Ooh.
Okay. So why is that relevant for moving to the country?
Because this can make or break your project to move your family to a new life in the country. Maybe a few of us have the financial resources we need to make an easy transition, but I suspect that most of us don't. In most areas of the country that people want to move to these days, property has become very expensive. And so we really need to be on top of our finances. And beside that, regardless of our current means, our position as stewards of God's resources require us to carefully manage our money.
Yes, it's true. It's true. Look, is it hard to find? Okay, so let's talk about it, because I'm thinking here. I was looking at the other day at a Instagram account of David Beckham. Rod, and David Beckham actually moved to the country, has adopted a country lifestyle. But I mean, imagining here that David Beckham's budget would be quite substantially larger, bigger than from most people. So he wouldn't have the same challenges as others. I think he can just buy the property ready to go. And I know that some people are doing that. They just buy a property that is just, it's just turnkey. You go there, there's your garden, there's all your systems, everything is nice, but that's not the reality for the majority of us, is it?
No, very few of us are in a position to do that. And so we need to budget our move. We need to look at what our current assets are, what our potential income is going forward when we move to the country. And against that, we need to put the costs and expenses that we're going to incur. And so my question straight up is, are we budgeting now in our current life in the city? Are we saving now? If not, this is another essential preparation for this move. We need to look at cutting the fat from our lifestyle. learning the principles of family finances. Many of us are living beyond our means. The banks are making a huge amount of money off credit card interest and stuff like that. We're spending money that we don't have. And many of us will need to go into debt to buy our country home. It's possibly the biggest financial decision we will ever make. And if we're not budgeting now, if we're not saving now, we need to get real about self-management. We need to learn to focus on our meta plan to move our country to the better life in our family to a better life in the country, and consider the effects of every purchase on that meta plan. We need to differentiate between our wants and our needs, and especially for the boys, we need to differentiate between our tools and our toys.
Oh, ouch! Yes, that's very
because
right.
We need to be doing this now because it only gets harder. Let's say we're thinking, we're looking at some land, maybe up here on the mid-north coast, and there's a property there, and maybe it's $500,000. We need to put in our budget not just the property purchase price, but the other costs that come as well. Like on a $500,000 purchase in New South Wales at the moment, we're paying $17,000 stamp duty. That needs to go in the budget. We're going to need a solicitor or a conveyancer to do the legals for us. That needs to go on the budget. We're going to need inspections, building, pest inspections, etc. That needs to go in the budget. Maybe the property we're looking at, before mum's going to be happy to move into the house, there's going to need to be some renos, maybe a new bathroom or whatever. So that needs to go into the budget. And then upkeep and maintenance. Do the fences need fixing so the kids' horse and pet calves stay in the paddock? All of that sort of stuff needs to go into the budget. And then it's sometimes, so we can look at those things, and we know that no plan lasts engagement with the enemy, but we need to make a plan. Yeah. And part of that plan is, how are we going to stay financially sustainable once we make the move? What's our projected income?
And that's a big thing, because I believe that some people nowadays, there's more and more people that can work fully remote. I have some friends that basically are digital nomads. They can just work remotely from wherever they are on Earth. They can get a internet access. In the off they are, but a lot of times
that's it.
But a lot of people, they don't, and maybe they're thinking, hey, because it's much harder to find a job in town if you're moving out to the country, right? So the options are different, and there are less options.
That's right. But if a person is a tradie or a nurse or a teacher or a doctor, the country areas, regional areas are crying out for skills like that. Now's the time to start working on those thoughts, to work out the plan to be financially sustainable. I want to talk about this more in depth in a later episode, but let's just draw a line under this budgeting side of things. Is if you're out, here's the best financial advice I probably ever heard. If your outgoing exceeds your income, then your upkeep will be your downfall.
Tell them.
Love it, man. This is so good. So say that one more time. If your outgoing,
if your outgoing exceeds your income, then your upkeep will be your downfall.
Yeah. Wow.
It's important that we go through the process, the rigor of planning, because it makes us think. And when we think, we grow. And we come to understand the issues better, and new possibilities and options emerge. Okay, but we need to be looking at this right now. And then the other aspect of this, if we've got another couple of minutes, is we've got to ask ourselves the question: are we being realistic in our expectations? So maybe we've set expectations of the life we hope to live, or the beautiful property we're going to purchase. Have we set their expectations too high? Maybe our means, our income, our assets won't support the sort of expectations that we have, and so we need to look beneath. And once again, we're going to talk at length about how to assess a property for its suitability for us. But just to say this, are we looking beneath the varnish of a property to try to ascertain the fundamentals? Like a quality property with good fundamentals that has been neglected is a great purchase. But a pretty property with poor fundamentals is a black hole of money. And so we can't afford to be deceived by the pretty face or the fancy clothes or the pouting red lipstick. All right. I was thinking the other week that, some of our listeners might have read Proverbs chapter 7 in the past, which is a warning to a young man being enticed by the beauty, wantonness and flattering lips of a licentious woman. And this can be insight into where the enticing, good-looking, beautiful, flattering property will lead us and the misery that will ensue. I remember in Proverbs 7 it says, with her much fair speech, she causes him to yield. So the principle to learn out of this is don't believe what the real estate agent tells you about the property.
Now, let me ask you a question, Rod. In your years now, living in the country and meeting with people who made that move, have you met anyone that ended up buying a lemon?
Absolutely. Multiple times. And sometimes it has caused them to throw their whole plan in the bin and go back to the city.
Wow. Can you give us an example, of course, without citing any names, but can you give us an example of what happened in those cases so it can be a bit of a warning, cautionary tale for us?
Okay, so cautionary tale on multiple levels. One is failing to really understand what it's going to cost them and how they're going to sustain their life in the locality that they chose. It was a dream, but it was a pipe dream because there was no way to financially support the family ongoing. And they struggled. The father ended up going back to the city to work, left his family in the country, and that is never a good plan for a family to be separated like that. So other people have...
The problem is that so basically that person overestimated their ability to earn income versus their lifestyle. What could have been done different?
They didn't do a budget. They prayed about it and hoped that God would work a miracle when in this God helps those that helps themselves. We need to be responsible adults and make responsible decisions. Other people, if they had chosen a property in another location or another region, it might have worked for them, but they just weren't planning. Other families I know that have bought property that didn't have water. And so the first dry patch, the first drought that came along, they're all trying to drink and flush the toilet and have showers, on a couple of 1,000 gallons of water, and it just didn't cut them and it just got too hard. Wow. Other people bought country that had a lovely view, but the soil was so hard and rocky that it was nearly impossible for them to grow their own fruit and their fruit trees. Wow. Other people I know have bought property that is so remote. They trash their first two-wheel drive car and, because of the rough roads getting there. And then they buy a four-wheel drive, but they can only afford an older model that had terrible maintenance problems because of their rough roads. And it just became so hard for them. Other people buy property so remote it takes them an hour or two to get to town. And, because of work and stuff like that, it just becomes so difficult, a logistical nightmare to continue their life.
Wow. So there you go. A lot of very, very, very serious pitfalls there.
Yeah. Once again, I come back to the rigor of planning. Planning makes us think, and we'll always get a better outcome than if we leave things to chance or to hopes. If you think about it, what is the chance we will ever hit a target if we don't know where the target is? So we really need to plan this move. It's possibly one of the most important decisions we'll ever make. And we really need to be thinking about it.
Rod, thank you so much for that advice. I believe budgeting and counting the costs and being on top of your financial stability, top of your financial soundness and good stewardship is an important principle to live by, particularly if moving to the country.